Hello, everybody. Wyatt-Andrews-Workshop here, and welcome back to, I think this is episode 13 of the whole series, but the second episode of season 2 of Orewell Zoo. Today, we are looking at the beginnings of the newly envisioned USBank Africa Pavillion. That was one of the later episodes of season 1, I believe, the second to last. And I think that was also our second take on the area. Because we had like a giraffe exhibit at the very beginning, but we ended up redoing that and then expanding on it in a following very large and pretty iconic area. But over time, I just wasn't really happy with it. I'd very much built myself into a corner, as I described it to some people. And there's this sort of guest circulation of the paths was getting a little how do you say, implausible for like a real life zoo. It just wouldn't really work, and I was just kind of over theming it, I think, which I wasn't really liking. So I took all of those considerations to mind, and I'm currently gutting a much better, I think, section in progress here. So we're gonna start at the giraffe barn. I think we showed this off to an extent in the last Africa Pavillion episode, but there were some changes I made earlier after that episode came out, because somebody suggested, or I mean, not really suggested, because it's kind of a requirement, but to have an area where the keepers can access the giraffes without sort of being in their space. So I added this catwalk, and I still think it looks really good. I did this a long time ago. This was one of the changes, like right after that episode came out, but I still think it looks really good. And I also added these hanging feeders that are by leader, which look great. I may actually redo the layout of the interior. I don't know why there's a plant sticking out there. I don't think that was there before, but whatever. I may redo the layout of the interior. Because I'm not entirely sure how accurate it is to a real life giraffe barn. Someone on Bro Nation posted a really helpful concept art of a giraffe barn, like a sort of more up to date one. But we'll see how it goes, because this is obviously if you can tell by the brickwork and stuff, this is a pretty old building. So I can't imagine it would be perfect in terms of modern standards. So this is the giraffe barn. We'll see a little more of it on the other side, but yeah. And I also want to redo this sign, because this font is pretty outdated. Everyone used to use this one all over the place, but it's since been kind of deposed by the font piece revolution, as it were. So that's the giraffe indoor viewing at the moment. But we've got some changes going on in their sort of backstage but outdoor space. This is kind of a sort of medical checkup space where the giraffes would come in here, and the zookeeper would come up this ladder, or just stay down here depending on what part of the body they're looking at, and they'd give the giraffes their routine checkup. And so this is still a little secondary portal for the staff, but then this is where the giraffes and the ostriches, which are the secondary animal in this exhibit, can come and hang. I think all of this stuff, the food, the water bowl, and the elevated feeder are temporary. I think the elevated feeder actually looks quite good still, so I might keep this around, but we have much better custom scenery options for these two, so those will not be around much longer. And then in terms of other changes I did a while ago, but still after the episode, is this new barn. Because before, I think we just had this one, and I expected the giraffes, ostriches, and wildebeest to fit in here together, which I think was quite foolish of me. Because there used to be wildebeest too. I might put them back, but I don't want the exhibit to be too crowded. So right now, the ostriches just have this one to themselves, and I didn't do an interior for it just because it wasn't really as special as the giraffe one. But this is where they can come hang out if they're off show, or just for any reason like that. But we'll see what's on the other side of this sort of partially opened gate in a moment. But I am going to run back out here. Let's get into flying mode, as it were. Holt Clock Tower looking spectacular as always. But we're going to land right over here, and we will enter the brand new USBank Africa Pavillion. So right off the bat, you can immediately see one key change I made is that it is significantly more wooded than the previous version. It's very well forested, which is just sort of not necessarily an issue I had with the previous version, but just something I wanted to do to make it different, because I'm not really trying to do like a better version of what I had before. I'm kind of starting completely from scratch for the most part. So yeah, a lot more trees going on and a lot more shade, which I think is refreshing, because I was getting a little weary of just doing like so much wide open space. But yeah, you can see over here that the gate for the sort of backstage ends up here, and then there's this little tunnel that the giraffes and ostriches go through into their main yard, which I really, really love this viewing opportunity here. Oh my. Where you can see the giraffes behind these different fences and trees. It's not completely exposed, but you get the idea that, there's cool animals back here, so you should keep going forward. And then this sign has changed a little bit. There used to be I think it was like the little 1 meter TV screen, but the thing about the TV screens compared to the usual billboards is that they kind of glow in whatever light circumstance it is, so you kind of have to keep the sunlight on it. But now we have these little half-meter billboards, and you can just it doesn't matter because it doesn't glow, because it's not supposed to be like a monitor. It's just a sign. It's really cool. Let me just. Oh, I don't think you can adjust the. I forgot you can't really undo the lighting adjustments. You have to do it yourself. But yeah, let me see if I can get. I think that's as good as we're gonna get. So before, another change I made, the Africa and the Africa sign used to be I think it was like a phosphate sort of font from the Safari mod pack, but I replaced it with the Noto font from the Aquatic pack, which I use like super rarely, but I just think it's kind of generic and ugly. But I managed to put it to good use here because I've got this surrounding white border, which helps it like feel a little more unique. And then I've got Ricey's Balboa font down here, which looks excellent. I think that was the old gutter piece font that I was using for the giraffe barn, but I ended up replacing that, and I still need to do that for the giraffes, so that's on my to-do list. But the archway is still the same. I think it did a good job on that. That's obviously based off of the one at Omaha. And then we have one of many snack booth bar, whatever, in this section that I built later on after the initial episode. There was actually a ton of stuff that I did to the Africa Pavilion after that, but unfortunately we won't get to see any of it, because it's gone. It's all gone. I just completely tore it up, but I do have like a little blueprint junkyard outside of the zoo borders where I've kept some pretty like critical blueprints, like the Africa Pavilion building itself. So yeah, and this was one of them. So it's here now. It's found its home properly. And yeah, I'm gonna like copy this like design throughout the area, but I'm just gonna change the name just so yeah, each one is different. So this is the Safari Snacks. You can get your Dippin' Dots here, which is a critical part of zoos in America, is Dippin' Dots. And then I've got this rusty like chain fence just to keep guests just a little extra emphasis on the barrier. And this is based on one that Moblung did for his project. I forget. I think it's like Palarctos Zoo, something like that. It's a very cool zoo set in Northern California. And in that area, there's a lot of like sea spray, so he takes it upon himself to make everything very rusty. But I liked how the rusty like chain fence looked, so I brought it over here. And I think it looks great. There's a lot of custom fences going on in this area, as you will see. But yeah, that's the Safari Snacks. And then another blueprint I kept from the original Africa Pavilion. It was this restroom. I'm definitely going to replace these gender signs with the newer ones that Shifsy made for their bathroom set. But yeah, otherwise I think this looks solid. It's just the kind of bathroom you'd see in like a public park space like this. It's really cool. And then we get to our first animal exhibit. This is completely new. It is for now it's for rock hyraxes, but I'm having a little trouble with those guys because all they do is just stand here. Their traversable area is completely like nothing. They can't access any of this for some weird reason. And I tried like a bunch of other small animals too, but none of them seem to be able to get around. And I think it might have something to do with these. These are the conservation sculptures that are the Siamangs. Let me actually just bring it out so you can see. Yeah, hello. So yeah, these are the part of the conservation pack, and I thought these would be completely useless until I saw Just Goron use them for his Key Park Zoo project, and I was like, holy shit, the big round rocks, just what I needed. So yeah, they look great. They really have that like round copy rock kind of effect, but I'm worried it's affecting the traversable area for the animals. But yeah, I hope not, because they look really cool. But yeah, this is the Rock Hyrax exhibit. I've got no signage in the area yet. I'm gonna like go like all over the place at some point and just do that, because I want to be very thorough with it. But I think it looks pretty cool for now. It's based on the one at Omaha. I went through the Omaha Zoo Zoo Chat page, like the gallery where they've got all the pictures that people have taken over the years, and I made like a big folder with like hundreds of different images of that area and other areas that I plan to build, like the Himalayan foothills, and I looked at the Asian Highlands section for that. But yeah, so Rock Hyraxes, and they've got like a little netted top, or I mean implied, because it's just the cables, there's no actual netting, because that would be a pain. But yeah, this is also one of our new custom fence designs that we've got going, which is also based on Omaha. So yeah, oh, and then there's another one. I'm not sure how I feel about this one. I think it's a little visually busy, but I think it works for this one area, so it might just stay there. And then in my commitment to not over-theming this area too hard, I've brought over these lampposts, which I use throughout the zoo, and it's just to kind of ground it a little. And you'll see my efforts to do that more going forward. But yeah, we've got a little viewing area coming up here. Let me see if, there we go. So yeah, this is the feeding / initial viewing area for the giraffe yard. And check out this landscaping. So yeah, if you remember the original area well, you'll probably like be missing a large building here of some sort, because before it was like a carousel station, and then the actual Africa Pavilion was put in. But I'm kind of struggling with where I want that building to be, and I feel like I spent too much time on it to not use it, but like it's not really fitting in the area as it is. Maybe I can use it for another project or something, but we still have a really long way to go with this area, so I'm a little torn on what I want to do with it, but I think we have time to decide is what I was getting at. So yeah, this is the giraffe yard. I'm going to hop over this gardening so we can get a better look at the little tunnel portal thing we have going on here that the animals use. And right off the bat, you'll notice the landscaping, like I said. It's a lot of this Yorkshire fog grass, which is from the conservation set, or might have come with the free update, I don't remember. But it looks so good. I had no idea until I started spreading it around. And you can mix in the tall grass brush with it, so you can get that movement and some additional fluffiness and texture. It looks great. And then once I get to the edges of that, I start to use the periwinkle, because it starts to look more like shorter, sort of more torn down or mowed grass. It looks great. And then yeah, that's where we were at the gates. We've come full circle. But yeah, this opens up, and it just looks fantastic in my opinion. I've got this little area here that's been especially trodden on by the animals, because this is where the giraffes would come to be fed by the guests. And the ostriches, for some reason, just really love to hang out in this area. But I'm not complaining, though, because it's nice to see the herd animals actually, doing their thing. But I've got some more of that short grass, and then some rocks sprinkled around, and I've got some gravel here, too, for some additional texture. Again, the giraffe exhibit at Omaha was a big help. And I think it's what inspired me to actually go with the more wooded look, because all of the exhibits in the African section for Omaha are very well planted. And I thought it was a much more unique and exciting look for these big savanna exhibits, which I was really struggling with in the past. The big giraffe yard in in this area used to be pretty much untouched because I just didn't feel like going through and adding all like the little plant details, because I was struggling with how to make it feel like open while still being detailed, which was I think is a big struggle for everybody. But hopefully this video can inspire some people, because I'm finally happy with this technique where yeah, it's gotten to a nice place. And I've used some of the drin grass for when the Yorkshire gets a little flat, because you can see here it's kind of like coming up a little because I've been using the align to surface tool, so sometimes it juts out a little, so I use the drin grass as kind of a transition for that. And then I've got some more small rocks put around. The random rotation all tool has been a tremendous help, both in this and other projects like Dawson Mountain and St. Reginald. For the faux rocks, what you do, I'm going to turn off align to surface, you just take it and you do random rotation all, and you get like immediate variation, and it is super helpful. This would have been such a pain in the ass otherwise. So great new feature. I'm actually not sure if it's a Frontier thing or a free build thing. I think it might be a Frontier thing. I'm pretty sure it's a Frontier thing, because I feel like I was using it before free build came out. But either way, absolutely incredible for that. So we're gonna go back. Oh yeah, something I want to point out again, or not again, but before we go. So we've got these new mud walls that are made of the stalactites, and they look absolutely fantastic. It's that texture we've always been looking for with the faux trees, but because this is actual rock and not wood, it's perfect. And you can stack them really nicely and effortlessly. But then on the back here, I've got these like plaster walls. And these are for realism in the sense that the designers didn't sculpt the back part of the mud walls because it's not visible to the guests. It's only visible to the animals and the staff. So why bother putting in all the extra labor and resources for that when you can just do the front side and it looks perfect? Just details like that. As so many of us say, bring your builds to the next level, which has become a cliche at this point, but I still think it's true. And then, yeah, so we've got a big selection of trees here, some of which I haven't really felt comfortable using until now. A lot of these trees, like from the European DLC, which I thought were kind of ugly at first, but I'm really starting to warm up to them. The textures and colors are really nice on these London plane trees, and I've got some cork oak trees like this one, and they look great. And then I'm using some of the Korean pines and the water tupelos from the Wetlands DLC. I am in the process of trying to reskin the water tupelos to be more like dark green, because right now this yellow is a little overwhelming. It's kind of like the fever tree. I might ask Mario how he did the fever tree, and I'll see if I can replicate that and maybe release the mod on Nexus, and that'll be kind of my foray into the modding scene. But for now, I think they do fine, because the model and the just the texture of it is still phenomenal. So yeah, and then we've got a couple of custom Sudanese frankincense trees, which I've actually been replacing with the tupelos, but yeah, it's neither here nor there. But yeah, I am super happy with how this habitat came out. I love how much the giraffes are just kind of hanging out here. So this is where people would come to feed them. Right now the line is closed, but you would just come through these ropes, and you would I think you would have like a special kind of ticket, maybe an experience pass or something, and you could come up and the keepers would give you something to feed them, and you'd feed them. And I made sure the height was like possible for the giraffes to come up to, so they would like step up here and extend their necks and eventually their tongues, because their tongues are really long, and the guests could then reach out and feed them. And most of the fences here are like have mesh, but I've taken that out and just replaced it with a second beam, just so the giraffes can get in easier. So yeah, that's what we've got going on here. There's going to be like a ton of signage, rules, and stuff about that. But yeah, for now, I think this looks great. And I'm pretty sure these fans are much too low. I transferred these over from the original, so a couple things got lost in translation. But yeah, whatever, got him. So yeah, moving on. More of those randomly rotated pebbles for good measure. And then another great feature of free build is that you can get the paths really close to each other. So I've got these, I forget what these are called, the tree bark paths. And yeah, they look great. It's just a really nice additional dirt texture that we can have. And actually, if we go back here really quick, you can see a technique I've pulled off where I have the tree bark on the ground, but then I've used the long grass brush over that, so you still get the big blades of grass, but there's still dirt underneath that, and I think that looks absolutely awesome. You'll see me using that more going forward. But as you've probably noticed off in the distance, we have a very cool pedestrian bridge going over here. And something I want to do in addition to signage is add sponsorships to everything, so I think this bridge will definitely have a name. I often use teacher names or professor names for like my sponsorship names. As you might have seen in Balboa, for instance, I used the name of my biology teacher for that sponsor, but I'll figure something out when I get around to it. So yeah, the bridge goes over the giraffe and ostrich yard. This is a really cool shot, actually. I've never seen this before. Oh, and then something I wanna show off too, if I can. There we go. And yeah, so two things I want to show off actually before we go to the other side. These wear trails in the ground. I think these are some of the best I've done. I wanted to, or I was originally using the crowberry bush as my sort of like green foliage stand-in, but I'm trying to move past that because we have so many better plants now, like the Yorkshire foggrass. But then I'm down here mostly because of this view. It's absolutely incredible, especially when the giraffes get in front of it. I took a couple really nice screenshots of that. So yeah, Holt Clock Tower, beautiful as always. I might make that like the sign for it because I say that all the time. But yeah, so let's get back on the bridge. Boop. And then you can see the primate house leading down here. That's one way to access it, but we've got a couple things leading up into there that'll be shown in a future episode. But yeah, so this is the pedestrian bridge. I think I just looked up like a picture of various like suspension bridge designs, and I kind of landed on this one. I think it looks really cool. I'm not sure how I feel about the colors. I think it's a little too yellow, but I think I can afford to change it as I please, depending on how I feel. But yeah, this is the other side of the giraffe yard. I'm just going to call it the giraffe yard at this point because who cares? But yeah, this more really nice walking trails from me. I think this might be my favorite of them. I just really like how I did the terrain paint. It looks really, really good. And I used to have a water bowl over here, and the giraffes would just kind of crowd around it, but it looked a little weird, so I moved it somewhere else. And then you can see I've got the California redwoods up in the background. Obviously not meant to be redwoods because their range does not extend into Iowa, unfortunately, which is where this zoo is set. But I've sunken them into the ground because their color and texture was just what I needed. So you'll see those sprinkled around. But yeah, as we go across the bridge, we get to our second exhibit, or our third actually, because the Hyraxes, or whatever it's going to be. I might make it just an aviary or something. But yeah, it's kind of at a rough angle because this is where the sun sets. So like it's almost always behind the exhibit. But yeah, this is our African painted dog exhibit. They seem to mostly just be hanging out over there. But I guess that's realistic. The animals don't always do what you want them to do because they're animals. But yeah, this is in a way, I think, a revised edition of the original. Whoa, big jump! A revised edition of the original painted dog exhibit because there are actually two separate yards because this would be like a multi-generational breeding facility. But yeah, I think this is a vast improvement. Just the grasses add so much compared to the crowberry bushes. I'm gonna go on like a crusade throughout Orewell and just kind of establish this new plant palette I've got going, which I think is vastly superior. So yeah. And I really also like the fence design I've gone with. It's completely custom. Before I was using one by Muppet Man, which looks really good still. I highly recommend it. But I'm trying to move to being as custom as possible with things that I know I can build. Like, you know, I can do fonts now, but things like the stuff Christina's does with like those ridiculous, in a good way, custom vehicles she's been posting. I know I can't do stuff like that right now, or at least I don't have like the time and patience to. I could probably do something like it if I really set my mind to it. But I knew for a fact that I could do my own custom fences, so I did it, and I think these look great. And I'm really impressed at like the different angles I managed to like capture, because before I had just kind of got like the one flat one, and I just kind of like blended it into each other instead of actually editing the fences to get the angles right. But I'm being kind of vague, but you can kind of see what I mean here with stuff like this. And then another really cool effect is whenever there's like a significant elevation change, I don't do like a line like straight down like a diagonal line. I just kind of like raise the fences each unit ever so slightly, and I think it looks really, really cool actually. It's some neat like industrial detail in an otherwise very naturalistic space, which is kind of become a hallmark in my style, which I'm really proud of. But yeah, this is 1 yard for the African wild dogs. I think this one is populated entirely by males. This is meant to be like the bachelor group. Yeah, this is a male. This is a male. This is the males. I think this is the male yard. But yeah, more really nice landscaping. I've got these nettle bushes which have been here since the beginning, but I still think they hold up very nicely. And then I've got some branches strewn around. And you might notice that they actually go over the walking trail. And I was thinking kind of in the lore that the dogs had carved out this trail by themselves, but in order to get some like better enrichment, the keepers actually moved the branches around. So like they moved them like to disrupt the walking trail so that they would take new routes through the exhibit, which I think is something that they would do for sure. And then another thing I want to show off before we go to the other yard is this. Moving the animals is such a pain in this game. But yeah, they can actually go on this little platform that I've got for them. Not for long, but they do it. They can do it if they want. I might put like a scent marker or some bedding on top of there just so they interact with it a little more. But yeah, this is, I guess we'll call it Yard A of the Painted Dog exhibit. But we will move on to the main viewing area to see Yard B. And then this is another secondary viewing. I want to disrupt it a little just so the dogs aren't completely exposed, because that's not really good zoo design to just have like the habitat be visible for an entire stretch of path. You want to break it up a little. But yeah, we've got Yard B over here. Let me see if I can get the lighting in a nice place. There we go. So this is Yard B. I think this is both females and males. And this is the yard. Let me unbox this guy. There we go. Yeah, this is Yard B, and this is the one with the pool. So I don't know how many other zoos do this, but the Cincinnati Zoo quite iconically has a pool for their African painted dogs to swim in, and they seem to really enjoy it. So I've incorporated one here, and they use it super frequently. Like, this is where they spend most of their time, which I'm totally fine with. They look great. But yeah, I really like the rock work here. You can probably notice that I've lowered my budget significantly compared to the last iteration of this project. So I'm leaning very heavily on like just fences, and I'm kind of limiting the rock work to things like this, or like if we go back here, you can see the rock work for like the mud walls doesn't extend all the way around the exhibit. It's just kind of in specific areas where I thought like the designers would think it would be nice. Like, and even here in the feeding station, it's not there, just because it would be really, really expensive to have it going around this like vast stretch of exhibit, which is how it was before, which is something I wasn't really happy with. So I've toned the budget for this whole area way, way down. Before it was like a $20+ million expansion, and I'm thinking more into the probably 10 or so million for this new version. But yeah, so this is one instance where the rock work really shines, or gets the chance to shine, because this pool, they would want to go all out because it's a major centerpiece of the area. So I'm really happy with how this came out. We've got the really like flat sloped tropical rocks down here, and then I used the same technique as I did in the fishing cat exhibit, where I've got this kind of color gradient going in from like yellow to blue, and it looks really cool, especially from above. Like the further up you get, that just looks kind of real to me. I'm really happy with it. So in terms of the rest of the area, I've got this really neat same design as this one, but I've got some like little peepholes just so you can see a little more into the exhibit, because I figured it was kind of limiting otherwise to just this one like vista. But yeah, otherwise I'm planning on just kind of completely fencing this off with fences and foliage, just so it's not too stressful for the dogs. But yeah, that is the Africa Pavilion for now. Just another great shot of the clock tower there. Whew, that's amazing. I've never seen this one before, especially with the giraffes down there. It looks great. So yeah, that's the Africa Pavilion for now. As you can probably tell by my my terrain work here, I kind of paint out like exhibit areas I want, and then we've got this big winding path going up here, and I've got I'm already hard at work on the area past it, and I'm really excited to show you guys. Oh yeah, and then another very big building over there that I did a while back, but that's all in time. For now, I'm actually handing this file off to another guest builder who's about to handle the parking lot, which I've never wanted to do because that doesn't really interest me as a subject. So I don't think I would do a very good job. But someone reached out, and I didn't hesitate with their offer. So it'll be in their hands for a little bit, and I'll just keep working on a St. Reginald Zoo because I'm really having a great time in that. And yeah, I'll see you in whatever comes first, probably St. Reginald, and have a good one. I didn't yawn very much this time, if at all. I'm not sure. The snow is no